Let's see. Oh, I didn't install Doom yet. Yeah, let's go ahead and create it. I don't know how bad the volume is. Yeah, so using 86box just to capture the video. I guess not like it matters, but anyways, oh yeah, I thought I had this installed. Wow, this is gonna suck. But I guess it's a live stream, so I guess this is more like how the magic is made, if you can even call it magic. Great. Just great. One thing about emulating floppies is that, yeah, very slow. I probably should have turned turbo mode on, but I didn't, because I'm not smart. Oh, I thought I'd use 1.1. Don't know why, it's always my favorite version. Bugs and all. Let's see, existing image, and I want disk number 2. I should update the one on archive.org, because I updated the executable to show pi as you go on, so that we can have, I guess, some closer idea to how reality is distorting and what's going on. But we'll see that in a few minutes. It was probably a bad idea to not check the virtual machine first. But yeah, this is, what we did in the old days. Floppies. It's kind of funny in a way, too, that Doom, it's only 4 floppy disks. It's not that big. It's really not that big, but when it decompresses, yeah, it's like what? Just under 15 megabytes? It was a lot for the time. It was definitely a lot. I almost should try to get Doom running with like Wacom 7. Not sure if anyone would care. Oh, hello, Abraham. Hello. Disk 3. Yeah, sorry, I thought I had Doom installed on this thing, but I don't. So I've got to install it first. So this is how the magic behind the scenes. Oh, it's very terrible. But I was just saying, yeah, this is like, for a lot of games, even back then, 4 discs isn't so bad. It's just, floppy drives are slow, and emulating the floppies being slow is, well, slow. Ah, nighttime in Spain. Yeah, I'm in the UK, up in Scotland, so it's 10:30 p.m. here. But I think it's still daylight out. Oh no, the sun's finally set. Or setting. It's not fully down. It's kind of crazy living this far north. Oh, it's Non-Euclidean Doom. Yeah. Oh, let me type it out, I guess. Sun isn't set in Scotland yet. So basically, the more damage you take, pi becomes closer to the number 3. So all the geometry gets really messed up. It's a really different mechanic as far as moving around and stuff. So that the more damaged you are, the more the more difficult reality is to perceive. So yeah, it gets a little more interesting to see. It's inspired from another video. I think I had the link. Yeah, I have the link right here. Let me put it in. It's from a talk. So basically, as Doom, the way they did it is they hard coded the value for pi, and originally the value that they used for pi is incorrect. So instead of just fixing the value, this guy tried changing it to different values. So what I thought would be more fun is tie it to the health, and then have the value update dynamically in the game. Okay, fine. So the 4 disks are finally done. Let's see. So I want keyboard. I'll take General MIDI 330, Sound Blaster 225, 1, 4 voices, and just save and exit. Oh, but this is Doom 1. This floppy may not have the sound settings, but let me see. I probably have to fish out the setup program from 1.9 because Doom being Doom. They changed the where the location of the preferences was saved. And I forgot because I'm building the open source one, so it's around a later version. So I'll probably have to dig that out. If it's not one thing, it's another, you know? Let me eject this one. So if I look at here, there should be Doom data. Let's copy that here. So I may not have sound, but let's see what we get. Oh, Stack Overflow. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, if this doesn't work, I can just use DOSBox. I just try this as a reboot. If not, I'll just do it through DOSBox. I was trying to avoid it. But yeah, this is the fun of, we'll just do it live. You're going to Stack Overflow, aren't you? Yeah. My goodness. Alright, we fire up DOSBox. And we just add application. Where are you? Capture window. I want DOSBox. Okay. DOSBox. Okay, there. And then I can just go ahead and take out the 86 box. Scale this up. And then let's add application audio. DOSBox audio. Oh, it was a it was a Pentium. Sorry, it was a 486 computer with a Pentium overdrive. I'm not sure why the stack was being blown under DOS. It's one of those things I'd probably have to investigate later, but I just want this to be fun, quick and easy. Alright, so let's see. So that should give me DOSBox audio, though I don't need it full blast. Let's see. Whoa, that's probably too loud, huh? I need to get like headphones so I can monitor my own volume. Sound volume. Alright. Go new game. Let's go Ultraviolence. So as you can see right here, so pi is normal. So you can see we're at normality right now. The 3.14. Oh, I do have the mouse in here to go. Cool. All right. So to show you what happens, I'm going to go ahead and go up to this barrel and try not to get killed. All right, so I'm damaged. So now pi is 3.09. So the world is distorted. So let's see, can I walk straight to this guy? Let me just get this. But you'll notice that the walls start moving, textures on the floor start moving. Just change that volume level. And, yeah, really. So you'll notice the things start moving around. See the pillars start moving? Let's go back here. So you'll see that it's not quite right. And then as I pick up health, you can see pi slowly gets restored. So now we're at 3.07. I guess it's like another way to look at it. If I cheat and restore my health, you see the pillars are not aligned. If I go IDDDQD, boom. So now I've restored the world. So now pi is back to normal. So this just gives you an idea like what happens. So the more damage you take, the more distressed the world is. So I was just going to play it through like kind of normal. Is it better to modify the source and compile under a proper machine? I I use cross compiler. Yeah, I do this with cross compilers because compiling compiling Doom's a bit of a chore, and especially editing it. Although once you get your tools in place, it's not that hard. I have this version of Doom on GitHub actually. I should link it. Let's see if I go up here, go to GitHub. This is Doom new. I'm gonna die, aren't I? Thanks. There we go. Take care of that guy. Let me just post this here. Say the source of what I use. You can use Open Whatcom. Whatcom 9, 10, 11 will work too. I guess I could do a video covering like how to build Doom. I was mostly interested in, I guess, making one actually work on DOS. Oh, I didn't realize it was so low in health. But as I say, you see how the demon guys here are floating up in midair because the pi value is not correct. We're closer to 3.0. So reality shifts. Let me try that again. I don't remember being so bad at this. But in some way, I guess you almost want it to be bad. Just so you can see just how distorted everything is. What are we at? 3014. Wow, reality is really low. Wow, if you see here, you really can't walk in a straight line. So it's kind of like being drunk in a way. And then things just, move and phase in and out. It's very different. But even the enemies like disappear. Oh my god, the other guy who's moving around is like hard to shoot. Can't shoot. And how he got clipped in the wall, but if I walk closer, he comes there. Yeah, it's very wild. Let's get some armor at least. Well, 10% health. Wow, terrible. Ah! Really terrible at this. Let me just speed run then. Just ignore all these guys. Ah, it's stuck. Shells. Come on, go, go, go. Oh yeah, it gets harder to move against the words and stuff. There we go. Let's get past the first level. That was really bad. I haven't published the modifications to this one yet. I wanted to see if it's somewhat okay. Because one big difference about this version is the math calculation. In all the other versions of Doom, they're saved in a table. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to quite go that deep into all the joys of pinball. That was insane. But I guess the difference is with this one is it's deliberately screwed up. But yeah, this is like the fun you can have with floating point errors. Things work, but you can see this is clearly not right how that barrel just phases in and out. Yeah, exactly. Specifically on the floating point. Oh my gosh. If you ever do professional work with floating point, it is the worst. There are so many standards. Even with the same vendor, you'll find the interop doesn't work. So many times it's just save them as a text box. Don't use binary storage on float. And even then it'll find ways to screw it up. It's it sucks. And then you find out that a lot of them, there's also hardware inaccuracies and stuff, and not so much like the infamous Pentium floating point thing, but a lot of the hardware just sucks. A lot of it just really sucks. But you get this. There you go. Pi is back to normal. So yeah, there's enemies that can phase in and out of the wall from different areas. So not fair. Although pi is normal now, so yeah, I used to be good at this, but not. There we go. At least we're back to 101% normalcy. Now we have to go through the red door. Never make that barrel explode unless I'm standing next to it. Make sure to get that clip. Come on. I guess I got it. Then you get this. Open the door on the other side. Now this maze is fun when reality. Yeah, because we're already below 100. And it's the chainsaw, if I remember. Yeah, floating point numbers. Oh man, they're just the worst. But yeah, if you don't have good float, yeah, no one's going to take you seriously. Especially for any type of math, science, Fortran stuff. Yeah, let me just say. Yeah, the world is just pure chaos. And it makes you realize just how much floating point math is it's good enough. It's not accurate at all. Wow, am I even picking up the clips? I'm not sure. There. I remember there's stuff down here. This is the hallway. There we go. Pi's back to normal. Thank goodness. Wow, I don't remember this thing being. Ah, there we go. Down the hall. And then there's one guy here. Get the ammunition. This next level is going to be even more fun. Oh, might as well get help. And then we just go down here and have it. Wow, that was really bad. That was really bad. 6 minutes. Oh, it was a lot faster when I was younger. Save that for later. Yeah, it can be so frustrating. Like you think you're walking in a straight line, and you're not. It's so confusing sometimes. Behind me? Ah, dodged right into it. Oh yeah, no wonder, because pi is 3.02. Grab one of those health things. Oh my goodness, dude, this gets so confusing. There we go. 3.06, so pi is getting close to normal. Oh, one question not related to Doom, but in Linux, kernel 1.2 back then, the kernel modules already exist. Oh, wow, that really takes me back. I think so. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've messed with like modules and stuff. I remember Red Hat's the one who introduced them, and I really thought it was a really bad idea. Uh, I can tell you why. It's my the one thing that was really awkward about Linux, of course, is that it required the originally it was the Minix file system, and then there was the extended file system, and then there's the extended two file system. And none of the stuff you can read right from DOS. So it became like OS2, where the only way to repair an OS2 system is from another OS2 system. So the ability to like copy binary only device drivers back and forth, it becomes a big problem. Yeah, they're introduced in SOS 105. Yeah, so then it had to have been like 102. Let me take a look real quick. I think I'm not sure if I have a 1.2 thing handy. I'm not sure. Let me see, because I have that cross-compile Linux from Windows thing. There we go. Ancient Linux on Windows. Let me get the link anyway for it. Where's the cat? Oh my gosh. Too many windows. Hang on a second. There. Yeah. I keep my weird Linux experiment here. Yeah, but in Slackware 3, you need to recompile the kernel, and that's the way it was for the longest time. Is you always have to replay or recompile the kernel. And you know what? That was cool at the time because you never had the ability to recompile anything. But if you ever install Xenix or Unixware or even AT&T Unix, you'll find out that you don't get the source code, but you have to relink the kernel continuously. And some Unixes ship with a really restricted C compiler that would compile the system dependency part. Disconnected, reconnecting. Uh, did I lose? There you go, reconnected successful. But yeah, it was really, really weird back then. And this is the thing because average users don't give a shit about their kernels. They just don't care. So as Linux became, yeah, exactly, an hour of compiling. You want more fun? Build GCC, build libc, then build a kernel, ah, and then build X11. X11 would take a weekend. I wish I was kidding. Full 48 hours, nonstop. I did it once. Never again. Never again. And if something goes wrong, yep, you're standing on a mountain of basically unmaintainable source code. That's why I'm amazed that modern machines are so fast. Like I can compile those old versions of GCC in seconds. Boy, that was not true back then. Well, what happened there? Oh, guy snuck up behind me, or he probably got through the walls. Yeah, see his reality slides away. Oh, it's down here, right? Yeah, 13% health. Yeah, I knew I was going to need those health things out here. Oh, it's so weird how it looks in the middle, but then it just slides into the side. See if I can just come back here. There's another health thing here. 38, so we're back to pi being 3.05. Yes, I knew there was one back here. We're at 48% health. So pi's a little bit better. A little bit. Could have used the chainsaw. Could have used the chainsaw. But yeah, if something goes wrong and why, and I got really good at amputating kernel problems. There was all kinds of device driver problems. It was just the worst. I guess I do need all the help. It's so weird that barrel is fading into the floor of the wall. So if you remember here, if you go down the stairs, you can hear the door lower, and then run quick. Ah, too slow. Get rid of this barrel. But yeah, this gets very hard with with reality not being even pi, because you think you're going somewhere, but you're not. Ah, see, it's hugging the wall. Oh, I got it. Good. Now I need to see if this works because I have that bug. Ah, there we go. House 100. So pi returned. I'm not compiling the driver, the entire kernel. Yeah, and that's the thing. And I get it because, and again, it's because the focus of Linux changed. Yeah, it went from being a hacker project to being something where someone wants to buy a CD-ROM, put it in the drive. Yeah, exactly. It's like being in the Matrix, exactly. And then it's weird too because see, we're at normality now, but as things happen, you lose all sense of normality. I forgot about this thing. Yeah, I remember that guy. Oh yeah, and then you fall down here, you bring this thing up, you turn pi to back to reality. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if Minecraft lets you alter reality as much, but yeah, it definitely works. Ah, guy got me good. Ah, and I died. And I died. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do the development. It's mostly operational stuff. So I basically get called when things go really wrong. Because very few people want to delve into like problems with stuff at kernel level, or what's very popular too is libc keeps changing, and then especially in Linux systems, you really only load one libc, but you really need them to be formatted around different directions. I mean, this is where that joke of Docker, the whole idea of like it works on my desktop, then we'll ship your desktop. It's such a nightmare. It is. It is the worst. Because generally the prevailing thing is to and it's always been the problem with Linux. Nobody fixes anything, so they don't know why it failed. Yeah, if you have a problem with one application that doesn't work, the first thing people will do is they will pick another distribution and then reformat their machine and try again. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I get paid to solve problems. I don't think I can give too many details just because of non-disclosures and stuff, but the problem that's been going on lately for a lot of stuff is old abandoned applications where that people forget these things exist. They get updated for security updates, and then the application stops working. And that's the stuff where I get called into. But unfortunately, by the time they call me, it's been broken for months. The people who wrote the application left. The people who knew those people left. So it's all one big mystery with no documentation. Yeah, sorry. I'd recently been fixing an application that is it's not that huge. It's about like 5 web services on one machine, but half of them are Docker, and then half of them are in that Python jail thing I can never remember the name of. Because like everything else, you see one, you see them over and over again. I'm going to cheat and get weapons. But yeah, it just gets more and more complicated. Just like when microservices break down, there's no good debugging stuff. You know, everyone always says, "Oh, just look at the telemetry." But if the person writing your microservice didn't use telemetry, oh, so much fun. Yeah, DVD Fab only works on Ubuntu, but on Manjaro, yeah, the shell scripts fail. Exactly, and why? Oh, that's what makes Linux just as annoying and unusable today as it was in '92. Let me turn that down. It's too loud. But yeah, I started using Linux around I think it's 0.10 or 0.11. It was boot and root disks back then, and then to compile it, you needed to have a Minix system. And then Minix was 8086 only, so you had to get these patches to rebuild Minix to be 32-bit. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. Then build GCC on Minix, cross-compile Linux from Minix, build the boot root thing, or the boot disk anyways, from Minix, and then, yeah, then you had your system. And it was exciting because you're building all this from source code, but oh, it was terrible, you know? And then I just mostly played with the floppy disk, the boot root thing, because I mean it was kind of useless. But once SLS popped up, that's when it started to hit like real prime time, and the fact that you didn't need to have another operating system. Gosh, what kernel did that thing have? Like 0.95? Yeah, because after like what was it 0.12, they jumped the versions to 0.95. The Linus felt that it was basically ready for release. Which, honestly, by the 012, 095 stuff, Linux was basically cemented into where it was going. Yeah, I know I cheated on this level, but sue me. For open server, there's no hardware support. Exactly. So you see, this is like the new paradigm of what's happening. Is that yeah, it's the death of Linux in this sense. This is like the problem with operating systems. It's device drivers. It's always device drivers. And this is how like the mainframe stuff gets around this: is that you have operating systems that can run on mainframes that use the full hardware, and then you have operating systems that only work under VM. And we're quickly approaching this. You see this with a lot of operating systems that basically are tailor-made to only work under either KVM, VMware, or Hyper-V. So that way, they don't waste all their time making a million device drivers for all the hardware out there. They just focus on 3 hypervisors. And that's the way a lot of this stuff is going to end up going, is that you're going to end up running, either a Linux-based thing or a Windows thing. And everything's going to be virtual all the way down from there. Because it's just not feasible to support all those device drivers. But sadly, that's just the reality of it. Is it necessarily bad? I mean, you have to remember in the 90s, this was the promised land. Is that you were going to be able to run all this stuff on your desktop under a microkernel, but it turns out that the microkernel design was horrible, and that hardware virtualization was the way to go. If Linux is compatible with older things from the first go on these days, that's where it's not shit. Yeah. If that's the big thing there, if Linux was compatible with older things. And you know what's funny is Linux used to be super compatible with old things. Because this is like what happened with Linux is that after version 1, people started to notice because people started to deploy Linux all over the place. And mostly because you didn't need licensing. And people like me, we don't value our time. So I'd show up at work, we need DNS servers, an email server, we need proxy servers, firewalls, all this stuff. We would replace all the custom vendor stuff with Linux. And, we'd go to our boss and say, I just need hardware. The software is zero. Boss was like, oh, wow, this is going to be great. I save all this money. I don't have to buy licensing. And, it's just the time of the engineers to set all this stuff up. But, Linux, when it was strictly from hackers and stuff, that's why it supported things like 8-bit SCSI cards, parallel port devices, just random hardware people had lying around. But as it became more professional and people saw it entering into more and more environments, that's where you found the Red Hat thing taking off, IBM getting involved, SGI getting involved, all these big companies. And they're driving enterprise stuff because they want Linux to be serious. So that was like the big shift between version 1 and version 2, with the SMP being in version 2, and it just becoming a lot more professional. And that's exactly it. So there's a huge rift between the 1.2, the 2.0, and then going forward from there, like how we were stuck on 2.6 forever. But after the version 2 shakeouts, all that old stuff, all that hacker crap, it's gone. Linux is serious business now. It's not for individuals. It's big business. That's why it's all about conferences. And, do you have the right press pass? And then what do you call it? All the people enforcing community rules. I hate community so much. I really don't like communities. It's all they end up doing is they're just so busy policing people and not making anything. I really dislike communities. There's it's basically why did NetBSD fail? Yeah, rules, regulations, community. It's not fun. Yeah, just the bottom line. It's not fun. Yeah, and it's like if I wanted to work at IBM, I would work at IBM. And at the other hand, IBM will never hire me. I'll never meet any of their requirements and stuff for getting hired. Yeah. But instead of, keeping IBM work culture at IBM where it's their problem, they've infected everything online. So, you end up basically working at IBM whether you like it or not. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I ever did anything that serious, I guess, like messing with Linux. Uh, I'd updated some like 8-bit SCSI driver a long time ago. I forget what else it was, but it was the Trantor T128. And it wasn't the T128, it was the T130. The T128 had this really cool virtual DMA code, and the T130 did not. So I ported the virtual DMA from the T128 to the T130. But I didn't use the right tabs and indents, and I didn't have the right connections, so everything I did was rejected. So yeah, that's as close as I got involved with Linux development. So I gave up. They didn't want me, and I didn't want that. I did a lot more with early QEMU. Um, I'd I'd submitted patches for PCAP into QEMU, and again got rejected because the tab spaces weren't right. Um, People thought the idea was stupid, you know, because it was very Windows specific at the time. Because everyone else enjoys TUNTAP and bridging. I really don't like TUNTAP and bridging. Maybe it's a personal thing. I don't know. I just really dislike it. I think it's just easier to use PCAP to grab an interface and just backpedal on there. But they disagreed. And then for a while, I got involved with SimH, and one of the things I liked was the NAT code from QEMU. So after I figured out how the networking code worked in SimH, I'd I'd ported the slurp, the serial line IP NAT protocol into SimH, and that got rejected because it's TCP/IP, 2 Unix standard. All the VAX and PDP-11 people, they use DECnet. They don't care about TCP/IP. So it was like heresy. They didn't want it in their system. Oh, I'm gonna get killed in this. I'm so dead. See, I think that barrel's in front, but it's not. And then, yeah, as you get injured, these guys can shift through the walls. It's just in order to free timetable older OSs make compatible with modern things. Yeah, like the Darwin thing. Ugh. That was just mostly just compiling it. I just wanted to better document like how we actually achieved that. 'Cause that was not easy. It's building Darwin is like that old joke about the guy hires an engineer to fix some machine that's broken, and the engineer shows up and he basically takes a look at the machine, walks around the machine, inspects it, then says, "Oh, this part's out of alignment." Takes out a pocket screwdriver, fixes one screw, and then the machine works. And then says, "Yeah, here's the bill. It's like $10,000." And of course, the people who run the machine are like, "How could it possibly cost that much?" And it's like, yeah, like my time for altering the screwdriver is like $10, and then knowing which screw to turn, it's $9,990. It's that expertise. So if you see like the diffs and stuff in Darwin, they're very tiny. Not a lot had to be changed. It's just knowing which bits needed to be changed. And the biggest thing we changed was the CPU detection, which just means it never worked in the first place, and it's kind of funny because the CPU detection code came from Intel. uh, um, I'm not sure if it's in there because the bigger problem with the shift from NextStep to OpenStep is they changed a lot of the internal protocols, especially for authentication. And then the shift from OpenStep into Rhapsody, they changed even more. And then, for whatever reason, there's part of the source they released that I'm sure they definitely did not mean to. And you see that stuff all removed in the later Darwin. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff where the device drivers, they did not release anything. I can't. There's a VMware driver, if I remember, that does have source. But Darwin device drivers, at least to me, they are not simple. The IDE driver is a perfect example of object-oriented programming gone wrong. It is so layered. There's so many objects on top of objects on top of objects. It's out of control. I could not get my head around it. I tried, and I tried just removing features, just try to make it into like a single call path, just to even begin to troubleshoot it, and it is just it's and again, it's from an outsider. Like I didn't go to whatever programming class they taught it next, so I'm clearly missing a lot of the stuff on Objective C device driver programming. But I did find that, at least with the developer release 2 stuff, if you, as long as you don't replace the system framework, it'll generally keep running. The problem is you can build a system framework strictly for Darwin, but it will not run a lot of the stuff. It is crazy. And again, it's a very complicated system. OS 10 or Rhapsody, NextStep, OpenStep, they are not very simple. There's a lot of moving parts going on, and a lot of it is not like really documented because as an end user, you don't see them, you don't integrate with them. And like there's fundamental missing parts from stuff where there's source code for the NIS, but you can't build the NIS because it needs features in Objective-C that are not free. That was another problem. We looked at trying to fill in missing pieces with GNU Step, but it just becomes another problem of, GNU Step is not exactly 100% compatible. And how much of the stuff do you want to rewrite? And then for what? Like, what are we doing here? And it comes back like, open server and stuff. It's the device drivers. It's always the device drivers. And Darwin runs perfectly fine under VMware. So if you want to make a Darwin server, I mean, that's what I did. I ran under VMware. You can hibernate the system. You can, if you can schedule outages and stuff for shutting it down and whatnot. I had a system running for like 3 years through typhoons, police actions, military actions, and whatnot. As long as I knew stuff was going down, I would just hibernate the VM, unplug from the wall, and then once everything had cleared, turn the server back on. You can restore the VM. And as far as Darwin is concerned, time just jumped forward like you're suspending a laptop. But yeah, I had one running a Quake server in Hong Kong for years. And it was fine. It's like the other thing I did with that Mach 2.6, the it's a Mount Xenu. When someone was so kind to give me the floppy disk set for the install because Mach is so very, very poorly preserved. And OS2 not documented, and VMware sources can be used. OS2 is, that's another animal unto its own. I guess you've seen that Microsoft DOS 4 was open source, but that was kind of a mistake. It's one of those things where they kept using the same names over and over again, and it was so confusing. But the legal people at Microsoft authorized the release of the multitasking MS-DOS 4.0. And it's basically a real mode version of OS2. It's what became OS2. It strictly runs in real mode, but it uses the NE executables. It's got the memory manager. It's not from Windows, but it's heavily inspired by Windows, or Windows is inspired by it. But it has a lot in common in the fact that it can move executables back and forth. It can demand load segments, so you can have executables bigger than RAM. And of course, multitasking and threads. I don't know, it doesn't have threads, but it does have like the ability to lock certain parts. I think it had some type of IPC. I can't remember. It's in they released the design documents for it, but that's what they intended to release. So when they went to the source code vaults and said we want MS-DOS 4, they gave them MS-DOS 4.00, which is the MS-DOS that went out into the world that everyone hated, and that got released instead, and it was by mistake. What was I? Yeah. Yeah, the API for the, yeah, but not the, yeah, exactly, not entirely. There's a bunch of stuff in those documents, and I just haven't gone through them yet because I'd been hoping that they would have found the disks by now. But it's been, has it been 2 months? I think it's been 2 months since release. I'm not sure. I think it's been a while though, but I'm guessing it's not going to happen. I'm guessing it's not going to happen. Which is a shame. But on the other hand, they do have legal's approval. So if they do find it, they absolutely can release it. Um, yeah, it's just all so weird over there. And again, I've never worked for Microsoft. You know, I know they have all their great little, why are manhole covers round type stuff, but yeah, I'm really terrible at logic puzzles, so I'm definitely too dumb to work at any of these companies. Yeah. Yeah, I fix software integration problems. I don't worry about manhole covers. Oh wow, I'm really terrible at this. This should just run. Ah, I died. But yeah, OS2, I mean, there's books about the kernel level and stuff. So it's kind of documented. The problem is the really good documentation is from Microsoft and it's all for the 16-bit stuff. The 32-bit stuff, and that's the other thing too, you can clearly tell where Microsoft left off on it. Yeah. DOS 4.0 could definitely be used to make something different. And with a lot of push and shove, you could basically recreate OS2 from DOS 4. We live in the future. You don't need to run DOS anymore. You don't need to run Windows 3.1. Like, you can remove all the needs for compatibility right out. You don't need any of that crap. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing, DOSBox. You don't need it. Computers are so fast now that you can run DOSBox in JavaScript and still play Doom and 100%, interpreted system. It doesn't matter anymore. If anything, that's the hard part about with a lot of programming stuff is like all the paradigms of everything we learned don't matter. A lot of this stuff just does not matter. Everything we taught was wrong. Whoa. 1% health. I'm dead. And IBM was very poor. That's the thing. They were so busy chasing the SAA garbage, lines of code. They fought Microsoft at every point they could to basically not include Windows. Basically everything that was wrong with OS2 is 100% on IBM's shoulders. They completely screwed everything up. It's almost shocking how bad they screwed everything up. It was just, unbelievable. I guess you might have seen my blog thing about the Model 60. But yeah, releasing a $6,000 286 in 1987. So expensive, so ridiculous. And then on top of having a $6,000 286, it can't even run OS2 because it only has 1 megabyte of RAM. They didn't need CPM. CPM was over. CP/M sucked. People have this like crazy idea that Gary Kittle and all that could have been something. It was never going to happen. CP/M was crap. They sat on it for years. Yeah. CP/M didn't have directories. It basically never improved. Yeah. That kind of crap was acceptable for like version 1 when people were, again, 8-bit CPUs, single floppy drives. You can get away with the idea of there being no directories. It was absolutely Paleolithic, and that was it. So by the time the PC comes out, it's like, what are you selling? Really? Just a straight port of this crappy operating system and no directories? I mean, and again, 86DOS didn't have directories either. But, it improved. If you see the source code of DOS 2, they put a lot of work into DOS 2. If anything, the real funny thing about DOS 2 is the whole Xenix directory thing. It was nearly there that they could have changed the backslash. But again, they thought that the CP/M compatibility was so much, it was so important, and it didn't matter. Because that's the other thing too, is that CP/M users were not the ones buying IBM compatibles. It was all these new people. They didn't have CP/M apps. No one cared about WordStar. Yeah, it's this amazing thing that happens when platforms change. Yeah, and it's happened, and it's happened time and time again, especially when people think it'll never happen again, but it absolutely has. Unethical. Hi there. This sounds like a neat concept. How does it work? So what happens is, let me cheat. So if every time I get healed, you'll see that pi represents a certain value. So if I cheat, let me give myself full health. You'll see that right now at full health, pi equals 3.14. And as I get injured, you'll see that pi starts reducing. So what I found is from that other video about Non-Euclidean Doom is that as pi approaches 3, the game is still playable. So you'll see as I get injured, the world starts to distort. And again, in like baby steps, you don't notice it quite as much. But let me just cheat again. So like you see the sprite, how it's like hanging out over here. That may not be where it is in reality, but if I go ahead and cheat again, there. So as I cheat, pi gets restored back into place, and then the world is back to normal. So if I just stand here and look at this guy, you'll see that as I get shot, the value of pi keeps going down, and then the world gets recalculated for the version of pi, and everything just starts changing. And as you see, as it starts to approach 3.0, everything goes nuts. But the game's still playable, which is kind of neat. So let me just cheat and get back to health. Let me see if I missed anything. Yeah, IBM's Paleolithic, but yeah, definitely as they introduced hard drives and stuff, like that was the thing. CP/M never kept up. They never competed. It was like they just completely gave up when the PC was released. They were like, it's a fringe computer. No one's going to care. We have all these existing people. They pay us $300 per seat. IBM wants to pay, what was it, $40 or $20? So they weren't going to compete because they knew that if they sold CP/M on the PC for $20, all their existing customers would revolt. And it would have been absolutely terrible. No, DOS 1 does not support directories. Yeah. So digital research was kind of screwed between the rock and the hard place with that deal with IBM, because there's no way they would ever be able to basically bridge that gap, because CP/M was just too expensive. And it's just a shrewd business decision, that when IBM came to Microsoft, it was for BASIC, and then they asked about an operating system, and they didn't know. So They thought Microsoft actually owned CP/M, so Gates referred them to Digital Research. They didn't broker a deal, so when IBM came back and asked again, that's when they went out and bought 86 DOS. Yeah, $40. That's about right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When most people talk about non-Euclidean, they're talking about portals, but this is different because it really alters reality. Like here, if I don't get killed, yeah, you can see like everything starts to go crazy. You'll see walls coming in the middle of the place. You can't actually walk in a straight line. Like I'm going straight and hitting walls. And if you notice too, the floor textures move in and out of the area. Yeah, it's very trippy to play. It's it's very weird. And of course, yeah, if you get too distorted or whatever, just cheat. Oops. Yeah, you can just see slowly how this guy hits me, and then reality just starts to warp. And sometimes it's not immediately noticeable, depending where you are. But yeah, it definitely changes stuff. Yeah, I'm so kind of surprised no one had done this before. But yeah, you see, as you walk closer to stuff, it slides into direction and whatnot. It's really or how the bodies jump, like how they slide across the floor, out through the walls. Yeah, it's really messed up. Well, and I killed myself because I'm dumb. I never tried that. You can always restore yourself from being dead, but it doesn't bring you back. Yeah, I guess I should try more of these variants, but this level sucks. Well, actually, it's not the level that sucks. I do, because it's just been too long. Because normally what I test Doom is with this level. And what I like about this one is all the boxes and stuff, so that way you can see reality just start distorting a little bit quicker. And it can be really hard to like precisely get to the switches and stuff. And how things just ghost out of existence, come out, come back. We just shoot that guy. So, what's another funny thing is, I think my mouse pointer shows up. So you'll see this house pack here, but it's not here. And as you get closer, you can see it just slide out of view. And oh, look at that, it's right here. And these guys should be able to come through the walls if they didn't already. I might be too healed. Yeah, if pi goes below 3, I believe it crashes. What generally happens is the world basically just goes like all gray. Whoops. How rude. Wasn't very nice of you. Whoa, you see as I backs away, he slid out of the wall. Oh, now he's coming after me through the walls. Oh, my goodness. I need to charge the phone, 7% battery. Okay, man. I'll catch you later. Yeah, it is kind of, oh, there's another. I'm dead. Darn it. Too many windows. Too many windows. But I did upload on archive.org. It's not this version of the executable. There's a couple of bugs in it. And it doesn't display pi as you go. And that's kind of my fault. But if you want to try it, check this link. So this is a... I got here, it looks cool. Yeah, thanks. I had this idea of, instead of just interpreting Doom as one fixed variable of reality, to alter it at runtime. If you do try this on a real PC, you need a math coprocessor. Because it, what do you call it? It recalculates all the math I don't use tables. IDDQD, IDKFA. There we go. Hey, how you doing, Nuclear Army? I have not looked into the OpenGL stuff at the moment. Right now, I was just basically just trying to tweak it to make sure it worked properly, or worked the way I wanted. So I've just been building with Whatcom version 9 and DOS right now for targeting. It's a very small change, though. It's, gosh, 20 lines maybe over 3 files. It's not a huge change, so it should be easy enough to basically just find a version that compiles easy, you know, and then just rebuild from there. Oh, yeah, I should get injured just so you can see reality distort. Just make sure I don't get killed. Alright, that's too much. Die. Die. So at 17%, you can see how this is no longer circular. And then, yeah, reality just completely distorts. Because circles are no longer circles. And then you do see stuff like the sprite sliding because, again, their XY coordinates are all messed up because they don't map properly. Yeah, as I say, try the one on archive because you can. It's in the browser. You just basically click the play now and you're up and running. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to do anything. But yeah, what I'll end up doing is, because this seems to be working okay, and I do like the fact that it does print whatever the value of pi is up at the top here, so you can actually see, you know, not just like a health percentage, but, you know, actually where reality is, and then go back and check from there. So I kind of like that. I did have, I don't know if I have it on here, but yeah, this used to not work as a test. So here I'm injured, and then when I pick this thing up, yeah, reality returns to normal now with pi being 314. That was not working in the version I'd uploaded to archive. And I used a different data wad, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do like the turnkey solution, because instead you don't have to download stuff, and where is it? Does it have some DLL problem? You don't have to worry about any of that crap. Exactly. You just click the button, wait a couple seconds for Internet Archive to download a 5 megabyte file, and then, yeah, you're all set to go. I do prefer that to the standard way of playing this stuff. Because, you know, this is like always the thing. If you watch someone playing it, you're like, oh, that looks cool. How hard is it to try? And, you know, I have short attention span, too. You know, and, you know, like even to the point Abram was saying about, like, testing operating systems and stuff. Everything sounds cool, but the moment you hit one roadblock and stuff, you know, we live in a world where it's like the MTV crowd, you know, 15 seconds of fame, 5 seconds of attention span. As soon as you have your first difficulty, it's like, well, forget it, that's too hard. I give up, I'm doing something else. You know, I can't blame you. You know, there's just so much crap out there. Life's just too short. But definitely, yeah, that's what I like about DOSBox through JavaScript. There's something to really be said about just click and go. Because what's even more fun, if you check on my archive page, you'll see I've got a version of DOS on there where you can compile DOS on archive.org. All the compilers and stuff are on there. And you can run it from there. Although I think they updated DOSBox on Internet Archive, and I think the compiler crashes now. So maybe you can't. But yeah, here's something that sounds trippy is, again, you know, the sprites just slide in and out of reality. Oh yeah, when they port it to WASM, yeah. And that's just it. Things are only going to get better. And this is, you know, I would not be surprised at all about Doom 3 being playable in WASM. I would not be surprised. You know. And that's just the incredible computing power we have today. Yeah. And again, you know, I'm going to sound like an ultimate boomer here, but, you know, when I was a kid, 1 megahertz processors were a big deal. But, yeah, we have so much computing power. And for, like, next to nothing. Here's something I like. You can barely see it from the lighting, but there's a health pack here that slides out from the middle of the hallway and then goes in here. Or is it a helmet? It's a helmet. Okay. So it's armor, but kind of like how it just slides out. Oh yeah, dual G4s. You know, especially yeah, back then the Pentium 4 hitting a gigahertz, the AMD pushing 1 gigahertz. Yeah, it was a phenomenal time. It was unbelievable because it's like can't believe things are getting this fast. And then we hit that roadblock. But if you check old articles from Intel and stuff, they were thinking they were going to hit 10 gigahertz by I think it was 2010. Boy, did that not happen. And then yeah, exactly the Pentium 4s. Yeah, kind of suck. Kinda suck. I've got one downstairs. I've got a 3 gigahertz Pentium 4. I bought it for £1 because I'm in the UK. It was a silly eBay auction, and I'm really bad at just buying stuff I don't need. But it was £1 and £9 shipping, so in total it cost me £10. Yeah, it's a fully working system, and it's slow. It is unbelievably slow. It is just surreal. And then yeah, you get like a Core 2 system, half the clock speed, and it blows it away. Yeah, exactly. Basically, just enough to take it away. Yeah, it's landfill. It's garbage. There's no doubt about it. It's legitimate crap. Gosh, what was the thing that was popular before? There was a Quake version. Oh, wasn't it Flash? Wasn't the old? There was a web version of Quake. I think it was Flash. But it was another one of those games you can just play in a browser, and they totally killed the technology. And then when Bethesda bought id, they killed it. Oh, I think it might have been Flash. Because I think Flash had hooks for OpenGL through the browser. Oh, I can't remember. You get old, these things all blend together. But yeah, exactly. And it was kind of fun for me because you know I got that copy of Windows XP for like another £1 purchase. I'm so dumb, you know. I just see this crap and I'm like, it's only £1. It's only £1. There's a store that sells like a lot of used media in the UK, CEX. And I've been so bad about going in there and spending, you know, £5 or £6, and then I've been here for 2 years now, so I must have like 100 DVDs and stuff. But on the other hand, you know, I mean, I don't pay for, what do you call it, Netflix or any of that nonsense, because who's got time for that crap? And I almost feel bad for those people because you own nothing. You know, what's Netflix? £20 a month, plus you need a BBC license? So it's like 30 something a month? You know, £30 I can buy 30 crappy DVDs. Yeah, Fusion for Unity 4. That was last year support building in Flash. Yeah, exactly. So it was Flash. Yeah, exactly. And it worked on mobile and everything. Yeah, I never liked Flash, but I did enjoy the fact that it ran on so much crap, and especially the Flash 10 stuff. Once when they had the port of GCC to Flash, that was legitimately game changing. But, you know, Lord Steve Jobs said no Flash on the iPhone, and that was it, man. It died. Yeah, I use there's a Google, not Google, it's a Chrome plugin, so it's not from Google, that Ruffle. And Ruffle plays version 1 Flash. It does not work with the version 2 stuff, so none of the compiled stuff. So it's good for like old meme videos and stuff. I just found Internet Archive also has the hooks for that stuff. So I've uploaded some old stuff I had I downloaded into a directory like 20 years ago. The kitty cat dance and blockhead, yeah. Oh wow, I'm really terrible at this, but it's hard to like control because you can't walk straight. You'll walk into walls. Things clip in and out. Like I can't go straight. Oh, you saw that cacodemon just poke right through the wall. Yeah, the collision gets all funky. Yeah, Newgrounds was kind of cool back then. It's like You're the Man Now Dog. That was the other YTMD. That was also crazy popular. Yeah, the era was, I think it was kind of the best. It was definitely a lot more creative. There was a lot less lawyers involved. So you could straight up, steal MP3 songs, mix them onto your own video. Nobody cared. There was no internet concern police. Even with all the bullying and stuff, and everyone becoming an hero. Yeah, I don't know. It's like people had thicker skin back then, too. Because now, yeah, you get crucified for saying or doing any of that. What people used to say to each other. And I think part of it, too, is, people are more serious now because they have jobs and lives and stuff. And, yeah, you got to make sure you remove people's ability to make a living. Ugh, mazes. I suck at this. I never can remember. I think I want to go down here and teleport. Oh, it doesn't teleport. Yeah, I'd almost say it was in some ways the best era. But, like everything else, it never lasts. What was another thing from there? Like the Brian Peppers thing? I used to think that was not a real person. And then it was a real person. I guess you've seen the Justin Wang videos about all the old memes and stuff. And it's just so depressing that it turns out some of that stuff was real. And, yeah, really messed up. Yeah, exactly. Nothing lasts forever. Yeah, the lowest common denominator, and that's that ends up happening everywhere. And again, I'm not going to blame anyone for saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to go break out my Pentium because at least it's got a math coprocessor and load this thing native." Like everyone is LCD at some point. Originally that's why I bought a Macintosh. That's why I was running OS 10 in the server version back in what was it, '99. It's because I was tired of fighting things like Linux and stuff. I do this shit for a living. When I go home, I just want to press the button. It makes a hello noise, and I'm in the operating system, and I can just do something because I just don't care. Don't want to compile device drivers. I don't want to compile my compiler. I don't want to deal with startup issues in libc. I just don't care. I just want to turn it on and have it work. I want an appliance. And that's what drove me to Apple in that way. Well, that, and it was, I'd always wanted a next computer, but at the time they were just so expensive. Oh yeah, I did early access. I had OS 10 server, the 1.0. So I had the actual Rhapsody before that. It was, it was really weird because it looks like Mac OS 8, kind of. It's definitely next step, but there's no applications for it because you're expected to basically write everything on your own. And then the support from Apple was like non-existent. So there's only one web browser, and it's from that Stone Company thing, and it was terrible. If you wanted to use a web browser, the best one I used to use back then was Internet Explorer. But Internet Explorer is only for Mac OS, so you had to start the blue box, then start a browser under that. It was kind of neat in a way, but oh, it was terrible. Yeah, so like harkens back to the day of the turnkey. Like I said, stuff just used to work. Yeah, Linus evangelists. Yeah. And GNU fanboys go out of their way to make shit more complex for no reason. Oh my god, where do I even start on that one? Every time it's like something's working, something's been established for years, let's fuck it up because fuck you, that's why. I hate it. I hate it so much. Yeah, to make them feel superior. And it's also like, you know, this stuff is old, it's legacy. I don't like old and legacy. Everything's got to be new. Exactly. That's why Windows and Mac are dominant, because they're frozen. And I'm surprised Linux has so much desktop. And part of it is Steam. That Steam console running Linux. That's huge. They'd finally cracked the code on that. Yeah, but it also dipped in the XP area too. Yeah. Yeah. It kind of did, because there's people looking for an alternative to Windows, but, you know, frankly, there just isn't. Yeah, it went down between 2001 and now. Yeah. Yeah. For OS X Server, I want to say it was 1999. Because I bought it was an iMac, the 333 megahertz iMac. And it was winter, because I can remember it was cold. But yeah, I got this iMac, and then I bought a copy of OS X Server, and I can remember the OS X Server was like $600, and the iMac I think was $1,100 or $1,200. So it was basically $2,000. And for me at the time, though, you know, it was like, this is, you know, what I'd always wanted, a RISC Unix computer that was brand new and didn't cost a fortune. So you had to go to Apple. So I can remember getting it home, and it had that stupid puck mouse, and absolutely hated it. So literally same day, after spending $2,000 on a computer and an operating system, I went back out and I bought a proper mouse. I couldn't stand that piece of shit for more than a minute. It was so bad. I'm just glad that I remember that day that stores are still open, so I bought it was a Logitech mouse. I forget what kind. It was really weird. It was like all rubbery, so if I still had it, it would have turned into goop. But yeah, like the first thing you buy with a OS X machine, a new mouse. You can't use a one-button mouse. Oh, just terrible. But yeah, I never owned the Power Macs or anything before. I'd use them, but yeah, the 333 megahertz G3 compared to the other ones, from what I've been told, yeah, it was super fast. It you know, and at the time I thought it was fast too. It basically it solidified the idea that I was comfortable going with Apple. So that's why I bought the iMac, because it was like literally the cheapest thing that they sold that actually could run OS X Server. So once when I was comfortable enough with that, I sold my iMac, and that's when I bought the a G4 350, the Sawtooth. Right when they changed all the graphics to go all in with AGP instead of the PCI. And that's where I found out very quickly that you know, Macintosh hardware, even though a lot of the stuff is the same and compatible, a lot of it is not. They make all kinds of crazy changes. And the copy of OS X Server I had did not work on PCI G4s. It's too different. It would boot the kernel, but there's no device drivers again. And that really sucked. So I can remember phoning Apple, and they were like, well, what you need is an upgrade to OS X 10 or 1.2. So I paid for the upgrade and got the disk, keeping in mind I sold my iMac. So when I got the upgrade, it's an upgrade. You cannot install from the upgrade disk. Well, wasn't that a nice treat? So I had to phone them back and say, I can't install OS X because it only installs on the lower machines. And now I have a G4. Is there a way to actually install from the upgrade disk? No, absolutely not. You have to find someone with a G3 that's supported, install OS X on that, take the hard disk out, and then you can do the upgrade from there. Because the upgrade disk, if I remember correctly, was bootable, but it would not install. It was so stupid. So it's like, again, like these fancy scenarios where you need a machine to work with another machine. Because heaven forbid somebody fix their own machine. It's just so annoying. So when I bought that G4, basically I was locked out. No OS X at all. Could not use it. I was so mad. So that's why I ended up running OpenBSD for a while. And I liked OpenBSD so much, I used to do, what do you call it? Like the giving them money and the fundraising stuff and all that crap. Wow, I'm really terrible at this. But yeah, it was kind of fun for a while. But honestly, I was just ended up waiting for OS X's public beta, because when I complained to Apple, I'm like, look, I bought the server version, I upgraded the hardware, I believed in you guys. I just want to use the software, and they're like, too bad. But they did say when they open up a public beta for the next version of OS X, they'll put me on the list and ship me a copy of the CD right away. So I did get the public beta. I was not allowed to get the developer betas because I'm just an individual, which kind of sucked. And I didn't know anyone that really ran Apple stuff at the time, so I didn't have access to other people that had copies of betas and stuff. Which again really sucked because I didn't know this stuff existed. And at the same time, what I also didn't know existed was Darwin. I don't know how. I had no idea Darwin was a thing. I thought Darwin started with Cheetah with the release of 10.0. Oh man, got killed again. But yeah, that was just me being completely wrong. I just didn't know. That was the thing about information back then too. Is that even though you could be on the internet, if nobody you know knows, you don't know, it's hard to find out things that you don't know about. I guess, even today, it can be kind of hard, but at least YouTube has like opened up a lot of that stuff where you can see and find things or accidentally explore stuff. But yeah, I didn't know Darwin even existed back then, so there's a good chance I probably could have at least got a working kernel installed on my machine and then be able to boot from there. But yeah, I just didn't know. But yeah, when the public beta came out, oh, that was just incredible. Because you now finally had a Unix with applications. And then especially once when they had the Carbon thing, because that was the missing part that was missing. The missing part that was missing. No, that was like the key component that Mac OS was missing. Is that you had all these old applications and nobody was going to rewrite for a new framework. Because the platform, the Mac was dying. It was, they expected Jobs to basically come back and shut it down. It was over. But a miracle happened. He turned the company around. But even then, nobody was buying Macintoshes. Their hardware, it honestly never sold that well, even at its best. What was it? 6% of the market? 7%? It wasn't that high. There just wasn't the appeal. And of course, all that changed with the iPhone. That's when they were able to finally push people to the new API. Yeah, exactly. And the G4 was nice because it ran the old stuff and the new stuff. I just didn't really care about the old stuff because I'd never owned a Mac before, so I didn't have any old software. Oh yeah. The PowerBooks and stuff were good. I had the plasticky G3 one. I think it was just like the regular iBook. It was okay. For me, the big game changer was the G4 Titanium. That I still think was the best laptop they ever made. The keyboard on the G4 Titanium is the best. The hinge designs and the speakers. Yeah, see, that's where they really fucked up, especially on the titanium. Titanium is really bad for flex. Titanium is real bad. And then they put like plastic around it, like that's gonna help. Yeah, the titaniums were. Yeah, if you had a titanium more than like 1 or 2 years, you know what I mean. They just fell apart. Yeah. And then I bought one in Hong Kong that was broken for stupid cheap, like $5 US or something. And I meant to just practice soldering on it, and I accidentally fixed it, which was so surprising and kind of cool. Yeah, and that's it. Apple hardware is sometimes it can be real shit. And the PowerPC era, they definitely made some real turds. Things could have been a lot better. Yeah, they definitely made some stuff that worked fine at the time, but as time went on, time has not been kind to these machines. So much of that stuff has just failed. You know, not even counting the capacitor plague and then all the crappy plastics of the 90s. The 17-inch G4 Type Ag was sublime. That's when they switched to aluminum. Ah, I hated the aluminum, but I knew why they had to do it. What I really hate about the aluminum ones is the keyboard became aluminum. I honestly like the plastic one more. Yeah, it still had issues. It's still on the market. Expect to pay, yeah, $250 for a good working one. Yeah. And I think it's, no, I don't think. It's all driven by nostalgia. There is no reason to own one of those things. Especially a laptop, there is no reason. Unless you can get remanufactured batteries, and even then, you can't do anything with it. No Wi-Fi is going to let you join. You have to like own an old airport to basically insecure your network for it. Yeah, like what are you gonna do? I mean, and yeah, exactly. It's just nostalgia. It's just a nostalgia machine. Um, like I have a G5 iMac I bought for oh gosh, what was it? £10. Again, I gotta stop going on eBay and buying stupid shit. But iMac G5 iMacs are worthless in the United Kingdom. They're literal junk. You can see them all the time going for anywhere from like £5 to £20. Yeah, the airport. I love the airport. Believe it or not, Apple made some really good Wi-Fi stuff. Professionally, I used to deploy them all the time. I used to get incredible signal, and I used to have a collection of about like 20 or 30 different Wi-Fi access points I bought from all kinds of companies to test. And the airport was the best, bar none. Nothing came close to the airport. And I can remember at this company I was working for, we got bought out, and I was required to replace all the Apple Wi-Fi with Cisco. And the users were so mad because the Apple stuff was just so superior. And the joke being, of course, with the Apple stuff, I only had 2 of them for the entire office. With the Cisco stuff, I replaced it with 10 of them, and the coverage was just horrible. You could go in a room, you'd have like a solid reception, someone closes the door, and that's it. The Wi-Fi just cuts out. And it was like, oh, we need more access points. I'm like, we already have 10. These things are like a couple $1,000s each. They are not cheap. You know, you're going to sign off the budget to buy more? And then it was like, yeah, and how much were the Apple Wi-Fi things? I think they were like 150. Whatever it was compared to the Cisco, it was dirt cheap. Yeah, it was just a sign of the times, though. I can't remember how this level goes. It's probably a bad idea, right? Or maybe not. Yeah, it was just like to go through all that stuff with the old PowerPC stuff. It's really just not worth it. If anything, that's where I would look at even that old program, Sheep Shaver, which, if you ever look at programming, Sheep Shaver is nightmare fuel. How it actually works, it is so crazy. But as long as it does work, with the JIT on an Intel CPU, it is so fast. It's faster than any PowerPC thing. Oh yeah, so I was gonna say the G5, right? So I got a G5 for next to nothing, and it's a 2 gigahertz i5 or G5, and it's slow. Oh my god, it is so slow. And of course, it being the iMac model, there's only one core, and it's just terrible. So you're in the market for G4, want to use it for period correct video editing. Oh, yeah. I kind of wanted to do that too. What I've been looking for is a FireWire camera that doesn't cost a fortune. That's the hard part. Yeah. But yeah, nostalgia blinds me again. My dad had a studio with G4 and G5 plus the PC workstations in the early 2000s. Yeah, and the studio closed down in 2014, but he missed the air. That's kind of what drives it too. Is early 2000s or whatever. I was, I'd already been living on my own and all that. I was living in Miami. It's fun times and all that, but yeah, and I had way too many Apple stuff by then. Oh yeah, the home recording studio. That's kind of cool. I wonder if they ever made FireWire microphones. I'm sure someone did. Or I imagine they would have. Yeah, like the first iPod. I had the first iPod. It was great. Connect over a FireWire, you could load songs so fast. And then, that's where they had to get saved with the whole idea, like, we gotta make this thing available to the masses for the PC. And that meant USB 1, so going from 400 megasecond FireWire to 10 megabit USB. That was terrible. That was really terrible. I can remember, getting I think a third generation iPod. Because what happened is I used to go running a lot, and I kept dropping my iPod, so eventually I killed the hard drive. It eventually happened. Whoa, it's okay, I drunk like crazy. Yeah, FireWire mic is an interesting concept. We had audio. Yeah, so remember audio video capture devices. I don't remember mics. You know what it might be is that you're probably expected to have like a FireWire controller and then plug mics into that. Yeah, but I never did any professional audio work and stuff. I knew people who did. I just never paid attention because I had so much of my my own problems going on. Just trying not to borrow trouble, as they say. Man, it's gets so confusing. Is pi is not pi, so you can't tell if this thing's really here or here. But yeah. There was something kind of fun about that era, but at the same time, kind of sucked too. Yeah. And if anything, the big reveal there was 2005 when they released the Intel Mac. So in my opinion, OS X has always worked on the Intel Mac, and it was not the effort of one guy. There's no way. There's no way. They were clearly building for Intel the entire time, and it was a concerted effort. Because the kernel changes that they were making to accompany this stuff, it was not one guy. I know it fits the mythos fine, where basically people didn't know, but it being portable is what saved Next in the first place. Because they, oh crap, I'm gonna die because I forget this level. You gotta run. But Next is a weird company. They built their first workstations from technology from '85, but by the time they got it to market, it was '88. All the big Unix people were already going RISC, but they got locked out because what they did was they had Jobs had a sweetheart deal with Motorola, so he'd get like massive discounts on CPUs because they were expecting another Apple, which obviously didn't happen because the cube and all that, it's just too expensive. But they designed and built the Next RISC workstation, which used the 88-1000 CPUs, and basically the operating system imported, everything was tooled up and ready to go, but they cut it at the last minute, and it's basically because they ran out of money. They couldn't afford to make hardware anymore. Those days were over. And again, like what saved Next after they lost the ability to manufacture hardware? It's because everything was written in either C or Objective-C. Everything was based on GCC. So they were able to talk to other vendors and stuff, and then get people to help port NextStep to their operating systems. Or if not operating systems, to their CPU types. So that's where you saw NextStep for Spark, NextStep for HP. And then Intel got on the action and said, oh, we'd love a version to run on Intel. Yeah, and again, this is like that conventional wisdom, everyone's smart type thing, where all the smart people agree that RISC was the way to go. Intel was just doing it as a joke. It wasn't going to mean anything. And then, fast forward to the Pentium 4 era. And definitely the fastest machine you could run NextStep on, is an Intel. Yeah, exactly. It was developed independently of Lisa. The NextStep machine was going to be what they call the Big Mac, because Jobs had already licensed Unix. It was basically in the plan the whole time. The next cube was going to be the Big Mac. They wanted to port the Finder into AT&T System 5. It's part of it's like AUX before AUX became a thing. And it's just the people at Apple, they were just so into their weird stuff, they just didn't get it. Yeah, exactly. OSF was going to be the alternative to System 5. It's another standard group thing. Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember what the heck it was called. Because the OSF was the Open Software Foundation, and they were going to use Mach as their kernel, and that was going to be, they were going to develop their own operating system using the libc from AIX. And what was the other consortium? But basically, it's like AT&T System 5, and it was going to be the two big Unixes that are going to fight it out to the death. Yeah, they're kind of under an umbrella and kind of not. I can't remember what the heck the thing was called. The competing one. Oh, I can't remember, but it almost doesn't matter because basically it was Sun, AT&T versus everyone else. Digital signed up to OSF. No, Mach is in there. OSF is just a collection of stuff they basically got donated to. So the Mach kernel was given to OSF because they needed a kernel, and being that era again, you wouldn't just take the CSRG BSD kernel because it's monolithic, and that's not exciting. Microkernels are exciting, so they took Mach. The only one that really shipped a real OSF system was Digital. What did they call it? They eventually called it True 64. Oh, I swear my mind's going. But the one for the DEC Alpha and the MIPS that Digital had, that's actually real OSF. So it's got the AIX libc and the microkernel and all that crap. And it sucks. It really sucks. There's source code leaks of it out there, but it's just the I forget if it has the alpha stuff. I don't think it has alpha. Yeah, that's it. Digital Unix on MIPS. Exactly. Yeah. Then they rebranded to True 64 later on the Alpha. But yeah, it's the same operating system. If you look around on the internet, you can find the source code to Digital Unix, and yeah, what I found was interesting was the mock kernel that I had been building on Intel. It's the same one. There's very few changes to the actual kernel to go between the two of them. Yeah, and those workstations are rare as hell. Yeah, good luck finding one of those. And even if you did find one, does it even work? There's no way. Yeah, but like another thing with that is like when I got that version of mock to actually build and run, I thought people would be interested, but honestly, the problem is, again, it's back to device drivers because there are none, and NetBSD, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, they do this in so much better because it's not 1993. It's not even 2003. It's not even 2013. It's not even 2023. You can emulate a... I've tried the MIPS thing on GXEmul. I didn't think it actually ran Digital Unix, though. Oh, it does boot OSF. Okay, well, I guess it's been a while. If I remember, the last thing I did with it was... I have these patches somewhere. I should put that on GitHub. Because I have it running on Windows. Without using Cygwin or Linux or anything. It's a bunch of stuff I did for that Cisco router, Dynamips, to run native on Windows. It's, I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was that much. It was kind of involved, but like if you know like which parts to take or whatever, it's not that difficult. But anyways, yeah, so I have a version on of that for Windows. Let's see if I can dig it out. That might be something worth looking at. Yeah, especially if it runs something, because I mean, it's been years since I looked at that. But yeah, what I was trying to say was that weird 8810 stuff. It has emulation for that, and I think that's what I was trying to run on there. There was some crazy Unix I was running. I guess that's the problem. You get old, you start forgetting this stuff, and it all starts kind of blending together. And it's always kind of weird to like revisit this old stuff. But yeah, like again, like I was saying, like I got that mock running, and nobody cares. And part of it is too because it's such a high barrier to get it running and do anything with it. Which kind of gave me an idea for something a while back, which is trying to port QEMU to the EUFI firmware. Oh yeah, even AT&T. Yeah, it's kind of interesting in a way just because it's so different. There's one funny thing interesting about System 3 is that for a short while, SCO was selling source code licenses for individual users. Model 60, the Model 60 unfortunately is a 286, so you would need SCO for that because they're the ones who had 286 versions of Unix. And as far as I'm aware, none of that source code has ever leaked or been published. So, kind of on your own on that. Wow, I'm really terrible at this game. But, oh yeah, I was going to say, so SCO actually sold source licenses for old Unix. It was something the Unix Historical Society had put together, so it was $100. and I managed to get one, and it gives me the right to actually run System 3. So it's basically I have a source code license for System 3 and everything before. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. It's not like it's that hard to find System 3 online. You know, I might have accidentally leaked it all over the place. But individual source license? Yes, it is an individual source license. Yeah, trying to do that Windows 3, maybe a majority company like Citrix multi-user. Yeah, and that's the one thing I probably screwed up, is that years ago when I was in Florida, I had a chance to intern at Citrix. And I turned it down because they were going to offer me less than what it was going to cost for gas to get to work. But if I had taken it, then I could have gotten a job at Citrix and absolutely would have access to not only Windows NT, not only Windows 3.1, but OS2 as well. Because it was in the middle of the WinView era, and they were heavily working on the Windows NT product at the time. So I passed all the interviews because at the time I was writing TSRs for like terminal programs and stuff. So you could download in the background. So I knew how the serial ports worked on a PC. So I remember that being a big deal for the interview. It was like, oh wow, you actually like know the serial registers and stuff, and how to probe which type of UART it is, and how to deal with the buffering, and how you could get around, you know, IRQ sharing and stuff. Fun times. I don't remember any of that crap anymore, other than it just being a big deal for the interview, and I passed. But it was an internship because I was still in school, and it was going to pay nothing. And then what ended up happening is I got one from a bank, and it paid money, a lot of money. Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't in the UK. It was South Florida. Back then, I used to live in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. But yeah, for internships, they pay low. I think it was like $5 or $6 an hour, and it was like minimum wage. I was like, oh, really? So disappointing. Because yeah, Citrix back then, they were, I think it was, were they in Boca? It was either like North Lauderhill or they might have been in Boca Raton, but it was a big drive for me. Yeah. Because, you know, it's such a privilege to work there that, you know, I should be paying them basically to work there and help debug their serial drivers or whatever the heck problem they were going to throw me at. It was just, I don't know, I was just so disappointed because it was like, because the other thing too, it was 1994. Things were getting real hot in the world. Yeah. And, you know, the internet thing had just been privatized. So if you had any skills, even as like a desktop user, you could land a good job back then. No problem. And at the bank, they wanted me because I knew how to use OS2. Wow, it's amazing. One hit and Pi's like almost down to nothing. And now it is. But yeah, that's back when OS2 was available commercial, and I can tell you, everyone that loves OS2, it's like, because you've never run it. And I mean running it, I mean like you've never dealt with thousands of people, with thousands of desktops, and thousands of setups. OS2 was a nightmare. I couldn't believe how bad it was. It sucked so bad. Ah, I did not see that happening. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's when I made the switch into like desktop support, which is what they hired me because I knew OS2, into the networking role. Because, yeah, it was such a wild world back then. And what really cemented it was Ethernet switching. But before we got to Ethernet switching, it was token ring switching. Because we had so many thousands of devices on a single token ring, and it was so bad. By telling 93 that a server say that 2 gig of RAM was all you would never. Yeah, if you had 2 gig of RAM on server, you were essentially like set for life. You couldn't possibly need more than that. And again, it was a different world back then. Yeah. There's no way you could need that much RAM. And it's just funny how, the 32-bit limitations, became limitations. Just like today, the 64-bit limitation seems so unsurmountable, so ridiculous. Because, yeah, back then, if you had servers with 64 megabytes of RAM, that was kind of big. 256, 512. It was ridiculous, but when did the Pentium Pro come out? 97? I think it was by 96 or 97. That's when we were starting to deploy the compact Pentium Pros. So there were 4-way machines, so 4 CPUs. And I know we had at least a gigabyte of RAM. And the real big thing is the one I got to set up, it had a terabyte of hard drive space. That was unbelievable, a whole terabyte. So back then, the biggest hard drives you could buy were 4 gigabytes. So this thing had, 256 4 gigabyte hard drives? It was a rack and a half of hard drives. And then the server itself was like an eighth of a rack. So basically it was 2 racks for this one computer. And yeah, a whole terabyte. And it's like, wow, now that fits on a micro SD card the size of your fingernail. But that's progress, And it's like, would you want to go back to that? Like, hell no. Ah, my goodness, that was a good job of missing everything. Yeah, it's truth be told, man. Servers and stuff were just so slow back then. They just didn't have the I/O throughput. The SMP systems definitely helped a bunch, but they just didn't really have it. But definitely at that time, yeah. First SMP for the Sport 4-way, yeah. I can't remember what the chipset was, but yeah, they had to create NPS and all that to support it. It did support it natively. The only catch was, of course, we ran Windows NT on everything back then. Because that was new and experimental. But NTFS supported bigger files. Because believe it or not, Solaris at the time, it didn't. It supported a maximum file size of 2 gigabytes. Yeah, there was a lot of 32-bit stuff left in a lot of operating systems. And NT, I forget what the limit was, but it was insanely huge. Yeah, and they did make bigger ones. Yes, they absolutely did. The biggest Pentium Pro I had was an 8-way from HP. That machine was huge, and it was 220 volts, so I had to get a special power installed in the data center for it. And I mean, it was kind of neat in a way. It was the first machine I did like professional virtual servers with, because that's when I got a copy of a Connectix virtual PC for the PC. Talk about missing the boat. HP network server for 3 grand that went from a bankruptcy had 8P Pros. Yeah, so it's probably that model. I can't never remember what the name of it was, but it was definitely from HP. It definitely had 8 CPUs. Yeah, and it was NT4, and it had to be the enterprise version because that was the only one that would take advantage of more than 4 processors. But it was really cool at the time because, like I said, I had that virtual PC for the PC. So the big thing there was I was taking all kinds of small server loads and converting them into virtual machines and then loading them onto the HP server. Because the big thing was, and a lot of people had this, is they had people that would take their developer desktops, put them in the data center and say, this is a server now. You know, today we just call it Docker. You know, the mentality has never stopped. But yeah, it was really cool. You could do virtual machines on those things. And that's where I was able to like convert our internet firewalls because, again, you know, being that old, our internet connections were just T1s. So it really wasn't that fast. So the virtual machine could easily keep up with it. Oh, crap. This guy's going to go through walls. Ah! And I died. Oh, it definitely was a pioneering era. You know, in some ways, it still is today. There's still new frontiers. It's just, it's easier to look back and, you know, recognize the ones that did exist. You know, and then that's the other thing, too, is it's hard not to get jaded all the time because I've seen all this shit before. You know, so many times have we solved the same problems over and over again. Like, you know, again, you know, I'm under all these stupid NDAs and stuff, but I can definitely say this, is that smart people don't want to pay money to Microsoft because they don't like Microsoft because Microsoft's bad, right? Because of OS2 or whatever. So they will not pay for Microsoft SQL Server, and they will not pay for Oracle. So they use, you know, MySQL or any other thing, anything but a professional product. So one of the big things the professional stuff supports is concurrency and what they call three-phase commits. So we have all these problems because we will not pay for a real SQL server where people write transactions into a database, but they don't get logged all the way through. A connection gets broken, a network link gets saturated, something happens, the connection gets interrupted, and the transactions are not left hanging, they're just basically abandoned, so they're just partially inserted. And because records got inserted, it just reports success because no one actually checks their work. So we have all these incomplete inserts, and literally on Microsoft SQL Server, it's a checkbox. You just check the box saying that transactions have to be three-phase, which means they get verified. Problem solved. Like, we fixed this stuff in the 90s. And people today will not use it. Yeah, Docker doesn't do full hardware virtualization, right. It's like layers of abstraction on top of things. It's things on top of things. And because it runs out of date and insecure stuff, you know it is totally insecure. The only thing that kind of saves Docker is it doesn't need the full operating system running, but it needs the full operating system. So a lot of the vulnerable processes just don't run on Docker. And then back then, yeah, I mean, it used a hybrid. There's an option when you're in v86 mode that you can trap invalid or privileged instructions. So basically, you just emulate the privileged instructions 100% software. So that's how VMware did it, and that's how Virtual PC did it. So if you're running regular user mode stuff, it's full speed. Oh, pirated licenses? Yeah, all the time. Do we get caught? Absolutely. Software audits. You know, and sometimes it's not even pirated. Sometimes companies change their terms, and then they come after you. Yeah, exactly. We got totally fucked over by Oracle. That's exactly what I was going to say. We got quoted 5 million. We negotiated to 3 million. They signed the contract. And then a year later, a new guy shows up and says, "We fired the guy who signed you at 3. That was a mistake. You not only owe us 2 million for the difference, but you also owe us damages for running it during this time incorrectly licensed." Yeah, fuck Oracle. I can understand not running to run Oracle, but at least Microsoft has never sued us. Yeah. Well, at that time, we'd moved all of our accounting stuff into Oracle, so we were screwed because to get out of it, we would have to do another migration. And we just couldn't afford it. And then we got bought out. And then during the buyout, it just basically wasn't my problem. But the company that bought us out was significantly bigger, and I know they basically just paid Oracle off to make the lawsuit disappear because they just didn't care. It wasn't worth their time. It was totally not worth their time, and that's when I got laid off of that job because I had too many years of experience. And then after that, that's when their networking team quit. So I went back into doing networking because I was doing system integration and stuff back then. But yeah, their networking group quit, so I did their networking for a year. And then their lawyers came in because you can't lay people off and still keep people. So yeah, they had to lay me off again. That really sucked, especially when they needed me. But even as they're laying me off, my phone's going off with stuff about people having outages and connection problems, and it's like you're gonna have to tell these people to stop calling me because I can't take the calls. And what are they gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. It's your problem now. I was fine working here, but you guys had to buy us and lay everyone off. You guys fucked it all up. Yeah, that sucked. That's what I figure is going to happen again because we've been bought out again at this new place, so it's kind of inevitable. It's not every time there's a buyout, but a lot of times. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, I've heard horror stories about people dealing with the pirated license thing. I know one of the bigger problems right now that people have gone through is, what do you call it? Java. That's one of the big gotchas. When they changed the licensing terms. Once when they lost their lawsuit and they found out they couldn't squeeze Google, they absolutely track that stuff. Amex definitely had the Sabre access, but I didn't get access to Sabre through Amex. I got it through the call center I went to when I left Amex. That's where our customer was, yeah, American Airlines. Yeah. Yeah, and what do you call it? Travelocity. No, not Travelocity. Expedia. That's where I was able to find the cheap flights to Japan and stuff. But through the Amex one, yeah, because they did their own custom thing, but we weren't allowed access into that there. You could see it, but you could definitely not log on to it, and that was such a fuck up. Even back then, yeah, it was constantly logging you out from sessions and stuff. You'd be typing away, trying to make a reservation and get booted out, and it was always like, oh, because your mainframe connection sucks. You just don't know what you're doing. And it was like, no, their mainframe literally just is so out of sessions, it was constantly dropping people. It's like there's nothing we can do about this. Saber's like at capacity, like even in the 90s. So I almost wouldn't be surprised if it was in the same situation. Somewhere I saw an article about someone talking about how airlines are so fucked up because they're still running ancient software. Yeah, but everyone does. Because they know the software works. It's hard to give that up. Yeah. That's where you see like the competing thing in IT about rewrite everything because it's what's that stupid term everyone uses? Technical debt. As soon as you hear those words, you're in for a shit show. Everyone that says technical debt, it's like it's going to be some guy with Python walking in saying that he can rewrite something that's been around for years, bug-free, first time, and then just walk away from it and do something else. Every time it is such a clusterfuck. Because you find out all about these edge cases that the Python guy didn't even know about. Oh man, that was dumb. I didn't realize it was a rocket. Yeah, every one of these people crying about the technical debt thing. Big mistake. And every time, it's like, oh, it's just, that's why they also running the microservices, because, oh, we just rewrite everything into small pieces, it'll be easier to understand. It so does not work that way. I wish it did. But they're basically trying to say, I've rediscovered modular programming. It might as well be object-oriented at that point. Well, it's not so much the language, it's just the mindset. Yeah. The language almost doesn't matter. If you think you can walk into like an established system and just change it overnight and with no testing, yeah, good luck on that. It's so not going to work. And that's largely my complaint about the technical debt crowd. It's like, the idea that they can just helicopter in and just fix this shit. It's like, if only it worked that well. Yeah, and that's just it. They're too much stuck in the weeds as far as like why does the application have these issues, and how is re-architecting the whole thing going to magically solve it? And then, platforms are a dime a dozen. So, in the long-term experience, it comes down to what platform is still going to exist. Where can I put my program where I don't have to rewrite it every 6 months? Do I need to rewrite it every 6 months? Do I want to rewrite it every 6 months? Do I have to rewrite it every 6 months? And is basically my program being run on some framework that's basically being developed by my competitors and a 12-year-old? A lot of companies do not get involved in open source, so they don't know where their software comes from. And, that to me is also like another big big problem. Because there's always this idea for so many companies that if they know we run this stuff, then we're at risk. You know. But at the same time, it's like you're almost always hiring because people are always quitting their jobs now because there's no loyalty backwards or forwards. People are going to find out what you're running. It's not hard to find out. You go in for a job interview, they're going to tell you what they're running anyways. When they do the little technical interview, you know, they basically show you everything. But yeah, and some of it too is like a lot of things are modular. It's just that they're written in different programming languages and they're written for different platforms. So it's scary, so it's easier to treat it as a monolith. You know, COBOL programs are not one giant piece of rock. They're not monoliths. You know, that's how the SNA server thing works, by being able to integrate with them as procedures. Yeah, and it worked fine. You know, it's just that when you look at the mainframe, it's easier just to point at it. It's like, oh my god, there's a thing I don't understand. You know, from the beginning, it's like I can integrate with it. I can talk to the precious mainframe, pull data from it, get stuff in and out. And then the next step is you're thinking, well, you know, I could just replace this mainframe. It's not doing anything special. And that's where everything goes to hell. Because then it's when it turns out, yeah, it turns out it is kind of doing special stuff. Like I was saying, it's always the technical debt people. Or my favorite part too is the technical debt people that keep rewriting their stuff over and over again. Because they always pick these hipster, new age platforms, and then they just disappear. Remember when Ruby was going to change everything? Ruby on Rails? Greatest thing ever? Yeah, that worked out well. Oh yeah, you always hear stories about people getting caught using Hercules in production. It's not fast, but it's fast enough for a lot of stuff. You know, the mainframe's big thing was I/O, but you know, it's all down to the data sets and stuff, and the data sets have not increased in size substantially. I wish I could remember how many terabytes of data we had at Amex. It was a lot, but it wasn't, by modern standards, it's nothing. The real interesting one would be QEMU because it's just so much more faster. I always like this level. Yeah, there you go, 19,000 MIPS, and the fastest one is 200,000. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like even that, you know, watching people like build these scalable systems that don't scale. You know, do you really need to have separate, you know, identity servers? Do the identity servers even replicate data? Does the replication even work? What happens when all the identity servers go down? Is there caching? Is there credential caching? You know, is there a way to invalidate it? Oh yeah, yeah. That's the best part about like a lot of the stuff you can emulate. You can just do it on a laptop. Yeah. I mean, my laptop's got 64 gigabytes of RAM. I'm sure people have got much larger laptops by now. I guess I cheated way too much. Yeah, the Unisys, yeah, the Burroughs Univac merger, two separate mainframe companies, yeah. The Dorado and the Libra A and B systems have their own emulator for NT because, yeah, they moved to CMOS silicon. Yeah, and that's just it because it's like everything else, it's just not worth the time. You know, like everyone has fantasies about making new computers and stuff. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Yeah, the Intel juggernaut is just too big. You know, just like the VMS thing, like when they had, I guess when they had enough clout, they should have gotten the source code license from Microsoft and just made VMS a subsystem. Yeah, and IBM because they just, it basically, the hardware is a licensing dongle. It's only a matter of time before they eventually give up on it. It's just not worth their time. Just like with Sun imploding, you know, the Ultra Spark, it's just not worth anyone's time. Well, I didn't know they won the IRS. Hmm. I mean, maybe they have the whole time, I can't remember. I've never had to integrate with the IRS, so thankfully I don't know. Yeah, and there you go. It basically turns it into a personality, and you can run your old shit unmodified. I think the SimH guy, Supnik, he did something about converting some system over. I don't know if it ran on NT, but it definitely ran on Intel. And I can remember it being a big deal that if they could fit their emulator into the L3 cache, that was the point where it's like it being all emulation, it didn't matter anymore. But yeah, totally. So like once you're on NT, you know, all those device drivers, it's not your problem anymore. You can certify stuff if you want, but you know, not my problem. What kind of disk subsystem you have? I don't care. But then at the same time, imagine trying to do that shit with Linux, and it's like, what for? You know, how much is a Windows NT server license? $600? Like, how much is your time worth? Oh, that's kind of cool. Visual Studio and Eclipse. Yeah, I mean, It's part of the benefits, you know? Sane operating system, easy backups, easy restores. There's just so many people that think their time is just fucking worthless. And that everyone else's time around them is also worthless. And it just creates nothing but trouble. It ends up almost being just so annoying because they don't value anyone or anything's time. Wow, 128 megabytes, I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. Because even those shitty E5s I was getting, they were like 20 megabytes? Oh, that's even cooler. Yeah, fuck RAM. Who needs RAM? Run it all on chip. Sounds like an Amiga thing, all from chip RAM, but yeah, who needs it? You know, I guess it's also like the same way that Itanium basically cleared the path for Xeon. Because boy, did it kill everything else it touched. Yeah, and exactly. Most of them live in their mom's basements. And that's just it too, you know? And I lived in mom's basement too. I can remember when, you know, a Unixware license would cost us like $3,000 or $4,000. You know, you need so many licenses for processors and memory. And everything in Unixware is licensed. But oh, Linux is free. But yeah, come back and support some old Linux stuff. And you're like, holy shit, how the fuck does this work? Or you're running some version 1 of some application for Linux, and now it's like version 18 because they increment numbers like crazy. You can't just upgrade. Oh, we got bit by that in one of the database things. Mongo, I think it was. Redis? I can't remember. One of them, though. But yeah, totally incompatible between versions. Totally incompatible. That was fun. And it's like, oh, you should read the release notes between like every component. Like, dude, ain't no one got time for that shit. Like, do you have any idea how many components of all these components there are? It's like, it's too fucking many. So many moving parts. So yeah, which is worse, the giant monolith of all these interconnected parts, so you have no idea what's what, or you know, the microservices, which even the programmers don't even know what's what. Yeah, it's all kind of terrible. It's definitely like why a lot of system stuff is just terrible these days. But like I said, there's nothing more frustrating than it's basically problems we solved a long time ago and having to go through the same thing over and over again. You know, 3-phase commits, we're not doing transactions in a database properly, we're not doing any of this stuff properly anymore. You know, did you send a verification code? Did you check the number of records inserted? So much of this stuff. And of course, professionally though, if you ever mention it's like, we solved this problem like 30 years ago, just use a real fucking database. Oh, you can't say that. Gotta make it work. Of course, I guess the other half of it is then you end up with the passive-aggressive bosses who are like, it's this other guy's project, fuck him, don't fix it, let it break. It's like another problem I'd seen recently, which is someone went and tuned the networking stack for Linux to be so focused on dial-up timing issues and the window sizing and the ramp up for the window sizing that it's so gradual to make it friendly for it's for dial-up. So it performs like shit on Ethernet. And nobody noticed until basically you hit that threshold where it's like people are trying to send so much data through it now, and they're all being basically rate limited because the kernel rate limits everything. And it was all undocumented, and I found it by mistake just by looking out of curiosity to see what the kernel was set to. And it was like, yeah, I found the problem. You know, it's all tuned for wrong window sizing stuff, so he just set it to default. Wow, it fixed it. But then people get upset. Oh, you found the thing, and it was set that way on purpose because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but that was years ago. You know, now is now. Nobody has, dial-up. Even 1 megabyte connections. I'm like, 3G doesn't exist anymore. Even 4G could kill this thing. Yeah, I always get in trouble with that stuff at work. That's why I'm doing stuff. I always just prefer to work remote. I don't care about company birthday parties or pizza parties or any of that stuff. Just don't care. You don't need to see me. I don't need to see you. Yeah, just manage expectations, I guess. But yeah, exactly. Everyone's got all the time in the world for that stuff. And especially future time in the world, because again, you'll spend all that time troubleshooting this shit. When you could be doing other stuff. Like one thing that's also frustrating is like the rise of AI. It's so good at pattern recognition and predictive stuff. We should be building firewalls out of AI. But we can't do that because we gotta, fuck around with old programs that are all mashed together because, reasons. Oh yeah, it's all the same. You get the exact same patterns. Eventually you get whole departments that are doing the same work as other departments. They don't even know each other even exist. Massive duplication of work. Yeah, it's kind of inevitable. And that's when you know if it's a company, that's where you want to sell out. Because, yeah, they're basically paying people to waste everyone's time. Yeah, the more bureaucracy, which is why small companies are nimble. Exactly. Management can hoist their way to the top with tax incentives, investor funding along the way. Exactly. That's where private enterprise always ends up winning. But then you get government contracts too that basically force you to be incompetent and charge more. Yeah, I've been on that side of it too. We need a statement of your, how green you are and how committed to the environment or some nonsense. And it's like you need to get a certificate from this company and that costs, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, well, guess what? My price has just gone up double that. Because now I'm wasting my time doing this crap instead of doing my job. But, if you have the certificate, then you can build and you can be part of the group. It's just the way it is with that stuff. Just like why a lot of people don't get why a lot of things that get built to governments and all that costs so much. Yeah, because their payment terms are fucking crap. Yeah, maybe if you guys paid on time, I wouldn't have to charge, 20 times the retail price. The floodgate opens and people realize you could fire half. Yeah, and that's, the Elon Musk thing with Twitter. Remember, all those people, oh, Twitter will be down. It'll never work. Because people forget, man, Elon is still very much a darling of industry and all that. All the people that cried about Elon and all that, they're Twitter users. They mean less than nothing. All they do is cry online. They're, what do you call that term? Chronically online. Or terminally online. Yeah, they're terminally online. Their opinions mean less than nothing in the real world. Missed it. But that's it. Twitter found out very quickly they could fire 80% of their workforce. And every one of those, I'm a very smart engineer guys, it's fired them. Don't care. I think there's one he had to hire back. Yeah. And that's part of what goes on today, is that we live in such an amazing era. Things are so good. Beyond the fact that, computing is just so cheap and so available, but, thanks to stuff like Internet Archive and whatnot, you're drowning in, not media, but information. And even with the war with Russia and all that shit going on, it's nothing compared to World War II. The people working for Twitter get paid six figures a year to do nothing but show up at the office and sit in the break room chatting. Absolutely, because most people don't do anything. You need connections to get in, obviously. Obviously. Every good gig I've got, it's because of the people I know. It's not resumes and it's not interviews. And that's it, people just break room chatting and then, You could outsource your job to someone else and management wouldn't know. Been tempted so many times, but unfortunately I deal with secure information and I just don't need that shit coming back on me, because as tempting as it would be just for the meme of it, it's just too dangerous, and I don't want to be the one that, is behind one of these massive information leaks. Hell no. Absolutely not. Oh, yeah. The guy that didn't VPN his people to his house, yeah. People have gotten a lot smarter about it, though. We just fired one of them. I think the guy had 4 or 5 jobs. And then, it's, people tolerate people missing deadlines and shit all the time. Agile's really great at that. Agile sets unrealistic goals and everything. Oh, I guess you have the volume off, I can't hear. As long as you make the meetings, the constant meetings for Agile, nobody knows what you do. And you can essentially get away doing nothing. It's stuck to the door, isn't it? Yeah. Agile is the worst. Just endless fucking meetings and status reports about meetings and how many points do you have to go with the spread, and it's points and spread, that sounds like gambling. We'll call it the poker casino. I hate that stuff. It's just like the guys wanting to be ninjas. But yeah, for the ones who do it, you know, I mean, I am not a smart person. That's probably what I should have been doing. I probably could have just done that lifestyle. I've heard of people having upwards of 10 jobs. Some guy I read somewhere said it takes him about 2 months to get fired from a job. But he has 10 on the go. So year over year, he makes over $1 million in salary. Yeah, it's crazy. But, you know, Elon again has basically fucked all that up because that's all work from home. You know, and I haven't worked in an office since 2006. Yeah, before Katrina. Wasn't that 2007? Or was it 2005? Oh, I swear, getting old sucks. I can't remember. But yeah, there's tons of people that do this. In the case of the mafia guy who needs to take laundry money for his fake job, he makes 60 grand a year, but only 1 hour a week, and works as a garbage man for a private dump company. Yeah, that's part of what it was. 2004, 2005. Yeah. So it would have been 2006 then, because it was right after there. Because I'd been pushing to work from home before then, and I always got denied because, oh, we like seeing you in the office, because I was making more than all the other people that were in IT. So they liked seeing me. I don't know why, because I just, you know, went in my office and I closed the door. I didn't talk to anyone or do anything. But, you know, they wanted to see me, so it was so wild. But with Katrina, yeah, that's when, yeah, I took as many servers as I could carry onto first class and flew out of Florida to basically save the company. And then after that, they let me work from home, so I just lived wherever I wanted. Because the other thing, too, is I used to travel a lot. That's where I was traveling thousands upon thousands of miles a month. It was so ridiculous. That's when my AA points went from, what the fuck was it? The bottom, I can't remember what the tiers are, but basically I went from the bottom one to the top level in 1 year. I flew that much. It was ridiculous. I think before I stopped flying, I had over 100,000 air miles. Because, oh my god, I was constantly going back and forth from Europe, California, like just continuously back and forth. Emergency flights out first thing in the morning and shit. It sucked. People think it's like so great, but like, you're never home. You're never able to do anything. You can't have like normal relationships of any kind because you're never there. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow or even like a minute later. I was just constantly on the road. Yeah, it really sucked. Yeah, it's like when people mention like all those exciting video games and shit of that era. I never played any of that stuff. I never had time. Never had time. I kind of remember this level, but oh my gosh, it's been so many years. Probably getting lost and going in circles. Well, maybe not. Oh my gosh, I remember George Bush. Yeah. And that whole... Oh my gosh, Katrina was such a clusterfuck. And then that's when we found out, yeah, the cell phone towers only have enough diesel to go a week. After 1 week, that's it, man. The cell phone network collapses. I remember talking to someone about that here. Well, can't you call 911? And I'm like, the phone network collapsed. How exactly are you going to place a phone call to them? Who's going to answer it? The call center has no power. They have no phone lines. Everything died. If you had a satellite phone, you know, like, what are you going to do? Call the police in the next state? I'm going in circles. I'm lost. Oh my gosh. Whoa, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I think I gotta kill this stream. I'm sorry, man. Oh. I got the shotgun. I guess I'll just die if I can find anyone to get killed by. Well, at the very least, I know this executable is working. So I'll probably just update the Internet Archive one with this executable with a different WAD. Yeah, I'm lost. I sucked at this game. Where's the rocket launcher? There we go. Boom. Oh, wow. Still not dead. Pi equals 3.04. Let's go lower. Oh, that's where it left off. Oh, well. Oh, well. I guess thanks for watching. Hope this was slightly entertaining, but yeah, man, 1:20 in the morning, man. I gotta pass out. So, catch y'all later.